I'm recording this to talk to you about the 2017 British general election. The Brexit election, they said. Nigel Farage on LBC Radio, this is the Brexit election. All the Conservative candidates, this is about Brexit. This is about us leaving the EU and getting a mandate for that. On the 8th of June 2017, the people of Britain rejected that idea. And you can frame this whatever way you want, but that idea was rejected, and it is without doubt that it was rejected. We know this because the issues that people really cared about were the NHS, social care, the dementia tax. This kind of stuff got people riled. Conservative candidates were supposed to talk about real issues. They were supposed to talk about fixing Britain, the problems within Britain. Alright, there's the EU, there's Brexit. We're going to talk about that. We're going to go to the EU. We're going to have our negotiations, and that's going to go one way. But you know what? We've also got home issues. We've also got internal issues, domestic problems that we have to solve, and it felt like the Conservatives neglected that. What is the overriding theme of this election? It's Theresa May and her gamble. She played Russian roulette, and she drew the short straw. She got the bullet to the head. Yeah, there was only a slight chance that it was going to be that barrel that had the bullet. It was going to be that shot that had the bullet. That she wasn't going to be the one who fired the blank. But guess what? She did get the bullet. She put it all on black and it came up red. It came up Labour. And no, Labour didn't win this election either. Don't be under any illusion. Jeremy Corbyn has still lost this election. The Labour Party still had one of its worst results in a long time. Maybe not one of the worst, but it's around about the same as what Gordon Brown received, and he resigned in the wake of that. Now, I don't see Jeremy Corbyn resigning, because the Labour expectation was so low going into this that pretty much anything better than what was forecast was going to be a good result. People seem to think that Labour have won this, that Jeremy Corbyn, this is a massive success for him. Don't get it twisted. They've all lost here. The only people who've won out here are the parties in Northern Ireland. They're celebrating tonight. Sinn Féin, they've showed once again that they're on the rise. And the DUP looks like they're going to get a deal with the Conservatives. But overall, it has to be said that Theresa May's gamble and Jeremy Corbyn not being able to win this election, they're really the stories here. Alright, Jeremy Corbyn has outperformed expectations. He's done very well to win 261 seats. I will commend him for that. He fought a campaign so brilliant that he managed to overturn a 20% deficit into a 2% deficit. But Theresa May, she has learned a hard lesson. She has learned that you play with fire, and guess what, ladies and gentlemen, you get burned. She thought that she knew what the British people wanted. She thought she knew that Brexit was going to be the issue that only mattered. That was going to be the only issue that people would care about. Well, she got it so wrong. She was so off the mark. She was so wide of the mark that it went backward for her. The polls said, and this wasn't just one poll, this wasn't just two polls, this was multiple polls over and over said, Theresa May, you're going to win this election. You're going to have a Thatcher-esque majority. You're going to be the next Queen of England, Theresa May. Well, guess what? The polls were wrong again, ladies and gentlemen. They got it wrong again. How do they keep getting it wrong in Britain? They got it wrong in 2015. They got it wrong in 2016. They're getting it wrong again in 2017. They've gotten it wrong. YouGov can hold their heads high tonight and say, yeah, we saw it coming. We surveyed 50,000 people, not just 1,000. We actually do our job correctly. This is in stark contrast to every other polling company who just got it horrifically wrong. They all thought, well, you know what? We don't have to really do anything. We can just say it's going to be a Conservative majority. We can survey 1,000 people. It's going to be easy. That's going to be the result. Well, it wasn't the result. The result was that the Conservatives underperformed. Now, when that exit poll came out at 10 o'clock last night, and when we all sat there and looked at it and gasped, said, well, that wasn't what we expected at all. When it was read out in Sky News, I gasped, but then I thought, is this not what we actually expected? How often do political gambles like this actually pay off? How often do we actually see people chance their arm and come out on the other side looking unscathed? It doesn't happen very often. There's a reason why here in Ireland, Micheál Martin doesn't want to pull the plug on Fine Gael, and he didn't want to do it when Fine Gael support was at record lows, because he knew, yeah, it could backfire. Let's let it happen naturally. Let's not force things. Theresa May kept saying, I don't want an election. I don't want an election. And then she called an election. Well, guess what? Saying something like that is going to backfire immediately. So where did it go wrong for Theresa May? Well, I break it down to 3 reasons. Reason number 1. She didn't engage in the campaign. Theresa May decided early on in that campaign that she didn't want to really be a part of it. She didn't really want an election. She was scared of an election, so she didn't want it. But when it came round and she said, well, you know what? I've done it now. I can't go back. She formed a box around herself. A big box. And she closed the lid on this box and said, I'm not coming out until June the 8th. Well, that backfired horribly. She didn't take part in leaders' debates. She didn't really engage with other candidates. Alright, she answered a few questions to a live studio audience, but, I mean, so did every other candidate. So did every other major party leader. She hid inside of this box, Theresa May, expecting that she would be safe in there. Safe from the media barrage. Safe from criticism. Safe from her poll lead slipping backwards. Meanwhile, Jeremy Corbyn was out in the streets fighting hard. Jeremy Corbyn was hustling. Jeremy Corbyn did what only he can do, and that's outdo expectations. Because nobody expected him to be Labour leader, and guess what? He is. Nobody expected him to win over 250 seats. Guess what? He did. And nobody expects him to ever be Prime Minister. Are we going to keep expecting that? Are we going to keep making that unsafe assumption? This was incredibly the first time that the right was in the position that the left has been in for so long. Oh, there's no way Jeremy Corbyn can win. He didn't win, I suppose. But he hurt the Conservatives badly. Reason number 2. Theresa May's manifesto was a shambles. And Gummer, the man who wrote it, he's gone. Lost his seat. Was that expected? Probably not. But now he lost it. He's gone. He's not coming back. He'll never return to the Conservative fray ever again. Because that manifesto was one of the most negative and chancy manifestos probably ever written. It had ridiculous policies in there that the Tories would never normally push. They believe in them, but they would never normally push them, knowing that they're just so conservative that they were completely unreasonable. They had stuff in there about reducing workers' rights, stuff in there about fox hunting, stuff in there about a dementia tax. I mean, just stuff that really, you know, if you were anyway moderate, you wouldn't go near it. You wouldn't touch this. I mean, it was like Jacob Rees-Mogg had just drooled all over this manifesto. And, you know, I'm somebody who quite likes Jacob Rees-Mogg. I think he's quite funny. I think he's quite good. But I think even he would have looked at this and gone, this is too far. This, even I wouldn't write this, and I'm, you know, ultra-conservative, traditional posh boy. Theresa May had stuff in there about fox hunting. Now, this was the one that really got to people, because she was going to have a free vote in Parliament on fox hunting. Now, not only is this ridiculous, but it's also completely unnecessary. I mean, there are huge issues regarding Britain's National Health Service. There are huge issues regarding what Britain's fate will be when it comes to Europe, and yet Theresa May made fox hunting an issue of this election. Then she said she was going to rip up human rights laws to take on terrorists. Well, I'm not quite sure it works like that, Mrs. May. You can't rip up human rights laws just to take on terrorists, or at least you can't say it like that. If you're going to do something like that, at least phrase it so it sounds friendly. I'm going to rip up human rights laws? What are you going to do, waterboard people? That was never going to work. The third reason why Theresa May lost this election, and this is probably the biggest reason, was that she was arrogant. Theresa May was arrogant. She believed for so long that she was going to win this, that she played identity politics. She said, I'm just going to keep attacking Jeremy Corbyn. His own election will unravel under its own weight. It'll be like a collapsing star that'll implode into a big black hole, and we'll just suck up all of what's left. Well, Jeremy Corbyn actually stayed alive. He fought. He tried. And in the end, Jeremy Corbyn managed to win a lot of seats that he wasn't expected to win. The seat numbers are as follows: 319 for the Conservatives, 261 for Labour, 34 for the SNP, 12 for the Liberal Democrats, none for UKIP, and of course others picked up the rest. In Northern Ireland, 10 for the DUP, 7 for Sinn Féin, massive losses for the SDLP and Ulster Unionist Party. That's where the seats stand. And 319 seats was probably about the worst possible scenario Theresa May could have ever envisaged. That was as bad as it could possibly have gotten for her, to win 319 seats. The exit poll said 314, So it wasn't quite that bad. She picked up 4 seats more than what the exit poll said. And the exit poll was pretty accurate. It was reasonably good. And you have to say that when that came out, even I said, oh, it must be wrong. It has to be wrong. And then as the night wore on, it wasn't wrong. I said Theresa May made a great decision. What she did was a great idea. Well, in the end, it wasn't a great idea. When you're losing seats like Canterbury that you've held since the 1800s, calling an election clearly wasn't the right move. And if Theresa May is going to be the leader of Britain after Brexit, then she has some serious issues she needs to address. Otherwise, she will not be the Conservative leader come the next general election. A fascinating election and a fascinating result. What happens to Britain next? Only time will tell.